Hello love! Today I have 3 mixed media muses which I recently made for a Skillshare class that goes by the same name, Mixed Media Muse. And I also have 3 canvases which I made for another recent class called Beautiful Backgrounds. So those are up on Skillshare now, and they're what I've been working on for the past few weeks. And I'll have more information about those at the end of the video. So I thought what would be fun and relaxing would be to do a series of 3 videos with these 3 combinations of muses and backgrounds. And I'm going to share tips and examples for tying together a focal point to a background so they seem like they're living in the same realm in a seamless way. Okay, so I've chosen to mix this muse with this canvas, and I'm going to lighten up the background just a touch behind this muse so that she has some contrast behind her, because the wings and some of her headdress and body were getting lost in the background just a little bit. So I did a semi-transparent layer, some of which I've scratched into with the end of my brush just to give it some texture. And now she stands out a little bit more against that background. So that dried, and now I'm just going to do the zhuzh, the dance, with a few embellishments. So I kind of think of the background as my set, as if this were a play. And then the focal point is the main character. And then there are supporting characters, and those are the embellishments, the ephemera. And when you're picking your ephemera, it helps to stay with the same color palette that's in the focal point, but you can change the predominance of one color or another. You want to have some pops of neutrals, warm tones, and cool tones in there, and as long as you come up with an interesting composition, you're going to be in good shape. So like these orange red flowers right now, these botanical design pieces here, they're going to allow the red and orange pops of color in her hair and by the wings to stand out and make those pop a little bit more. So we're tying together a color palette. I also have some lavenders that will tie together, and some neutrals like in the ship. And I love that ship because it's kind of like Marie Antoinette. It reminds me of the ship on top of that big hair, and so it's kind of relating in that way. So you might notice that I'm doing some larger pieces of paper, these vintage book pages and the ship, which are kind of neutral, and they're covering up some of that background. And you might be thinking, well, what the heck? I thought we already did the background. But I wanted some text, and a lot of this background is still going to show. A lot of that texture is still going to show. And I'm going to tie together to make it a little bit more seamless, but sometimes it's nice to use pieces of paper behind the ephemera. So I think of it more as a component of the ephemera, of those supporting characters, because I like to frame them out within the piece. So they're like a backdrop behind a character, but in front of the set, if that makes sense. It's just a little design element that I like. So I've taken more white paint, and I'm just going to lightly blur those contrasted edges of the book page. And now they seamlessly just kind of fit in. But I have the text, which gives me a nice texture, and the ship, which is pretty neutral. It's not going to compete. It just kind of gently enhances my composition. And now I have my ephemera. I'm just going to play around with the specific measurements. I didn't need the bottom of her body, so I snipped that off. And I, again, am just like zhuzhing around doing the dance. So I have my gel medium, and I'm going to put those in place and also go over the top to seal them in. And it can also help to have these elements hang off of the edge of the canvas. It helps with the composition. Things are going to exceed outside of this frame of vision So you can have them lined up and cropped with the edge of the canvas, and that is going to make it seem like there is a world inside there. Now I'm applying my muse down to the canvas. I've got my gel medium going on pretty thick here and getting it nicely lined up, and I have to kind of massage that in for a little while, and then I take gel medium, I seal it up, and I brush it against the edges quite a bit to just kind of get more gel medium up against that rise in the papers, and that will give it more of a hold. Okay, so now I'm taking some teal and I'm just going to sprinkle it into the headdress and some of the flowers. And what this is going to do is tie in that teal from the background even more, so it's like almost a light reflecting on these elements. I'm barely using much. It's more of just a almost subliminal exchange of color from one element to another. And here I'm doing it again with some burnt sienna. And I have some gold pen for some fun mark making. And I'll just go around and do some line work and sprinkles, some dashes and dots. And you can use whatever kind of mark making that you are that you're familiar with and go back to time and again. I'll do some charcoal pencil, kind of scribble around. And charcoal pencil is fun because it can do a few things. You can smudge it with your finger, and you can also go over it with a gel medium and blur it out a little bit, and you can go over it and just give it kind of like a hazy look. So you can use it as a shadow and a design element as well to put in some shadows and dark areas. And here I have a Sharpie, and I'm just doing some small circles and little clusters and some gold. So this is all just decorative mark making. The gold is nice. It's not very opaque, it's more transparent, and I can sprinkle it around, and I like to use it in the flowers especially, but in little dots here and there, and going over the center of the flowers and accenting the petals and things like that. And what that's going to do is just catch the light and give this more dimension as you move around it and look at it from different angles. And that lower left corner was kind of bugging me. I'm going to paint over that, but first I'm going to go over the face just a tiny bit with some pen, and that is going to deepen those details, giving it more contrast and more of a pop. And I put my hand in the gold on my palette and made a big mess on my table. So here I'm going over that bottom corner. I didn't really care for what I did down there, so I just wanted to cover it up, which is the beauty of this. You can always cover things up. And I'm going to add just one more little element of that red-orange floral component there. And here I'm just putting some color into her face, some warmth into her cheeks and lips, and then I did some teal over the eyes. So there she is, and it looks great. So that's a wrap. In just a moment, I'm going to leave you with more information about my Skillshare classes, Mixed Media Muse, and Beautiful Backgrounds. But before I do, I just want to thank you so much for watching. It really does make me so happy to see your comments. You know, it's challenging to switch back and forth between creating YouTube videos and Skillshare classes. So every little bit helps. And not only that, but I really do love helping people discover creativity and their inner muse, because you have everything you need right inside, and it just takes practice and an open mind. So if you enjoyed this, I really hope that you will like, comment, and subscribe to my channel, especially if you don't want to miss out on the next 2 muses that I'm going to share. So they'll be similar but a little bit different, and they'll have more tips and relaxing creative vibes. So once again, thank you, happy creating, and much love. When learning to make art, most people focus on the subject of their pieces, but one of the most overlooked and most important components of a good work of art is the unsung hero, the background. My name is Jennifer Laurel Keller, and I'm an artist and instructor with over 20 years working in the arts. And one thing that I notice when working with students is that many people either treat backgrounds as an afterthought or they overwork them and they turn out too busy, which distracts the viewer. And I used to be in the same boat. I didn't realize that it was my backgrounds that were falling flat, but eventually, after lots of trial and error, I found that layering and texture are key because an interesting background will support your work, give your focal points a space to live in, and help tie the piece together so that it makes sense. So in this class, Beautiful Backgrounds for Acrylic Painting and Mixed Media, I share lots of techniques which I combine on 3 different canvases to create lush, attractive backgrounds. Each technique is interchangeable and you can layer them in any combination that you choose to fit your personal style. You'll learn about mixing colors on the canvas, contrast, drips, splatter, gradients, stencils, collage, semi-transparent layers, and quick stamping so that you can let go, get in the flow, and make juicy textured backgrounds that will draw in your audience. This class is right for you if you've felt like something has been missing in your art. Maybe you've thought about trying more textured backgrounds, but found it a little scary. Once you see how easy these techniques are, you'll be ready to jump in and have fun. In the end, you'll have several backgrounds ready to go so that when inspiration strikes, you'll be ready. So are you ready to play? I'll see you in class. Every artist and art lover cherishes the excitement of inspiration, and nothing embodies that inspiration quite like the concept of the muse. They symbolize creativity, inventiveness, imagination, vision, and beauty. My name is Jennifer Laurel Keller. I'm an artist and instructor with over 20 years working in the arts, but what I really do is help people gain creative confidence. Sometimes it's hard to tap into our inner muse, so I thought it would be fun to create beautiful muses as symbols of our own guiding lights, which we can have on hand as a stash of focal points for our mixed media works. So in this class, Mixed Media Muse, I create 3 different examples infused with rich textures, beautiful natural elements, and inspirational energy. You'll learn about materials and where to find public domain vintage images that are copyright free for your collage. I'll demonstrate layering and assembling, composition, adding semi-transparent acrylic color, and tips for making your muses lovely and filled with imagination. This class is right for you if you're drawn to beautiful papers and want to create whimsical figures without the need for a lot of drawing or painting skills. With these easy concepts, you can create as many muses as you like so you can have them ready to go for your future mixed media pieces. So are you ready to bring your inner muse to life? I'll see you in class.